Hello, it's Guy Michelmore here again. Just before I started my day's work with my fresh cup of coffee, I thought I'd give you a quick look at the way my template is set up. I don't expect this is very different to most people's who work on sort of big orchestral stuff. It's pretty big. It's got about 650 MIDI tracks in it now. As you can see, as we go down slowly, it's organized by folders and color coordinated and all that. Because with 650 tracks, you can get very, very lost very quickly. I try and organize it by sort of classical score order as far as possible. So obviously, we have woodwind at the top, then brass, et cetera, right the way down to strings at the bottom. Then I put other sort of more sort of project-specific stuff and ethnic percussion and things like that. I sort of tuck away at the bottom, and then there's all the audio stuff comes underneath that. To give you some idea how something like this gets this big, if you take, for example, the woodwind, I've got Cine Winds, which I love. I've got VSL woodwind, which I love. I also now have most of the 8DO woodwinds, which aren't in this particular template yet. They're all good for different things, and sometimes your favorite flute just won't sound quite right when you play a particular line. So you need an alternative, and some arrangements just sound better with a different library. I found that particularly true of the brass, where I use Cine brass and Hollywood brass most of the time. But the sheer number really kicks off if you take, for example, strings. If we go down here to the strings, where are they? If you get, if you think of, here we are. So I've got LA scoring strings. I have the wonderful Spitfire bespoke string libraries, which these are string ensembles, which I find, because I work in animation where everything's done in about 2.5 seconds flat, it's all really fast. Therefore, you use ensembles a lot more than you use individual lines, but I've got all the individual lines as well. So if you look at something like the 8DO Adagio strings, by the time you've got 3 or 4 different articulations for legato, you've got all the other articulations, you've got tremolando, pizzicato, and all the rest of it, you end up with 8, 10, 15 tracks for just violins. Then you've got to multiply that, obviously, by each section. And then you think, okay, well, actually, we're also going to have a choice of library in case, as I said before, it doesn't quite work out. So here's the Spitfire ones, longs, shorts, sordini, pizzicato, harmonics card. 650 tracks suddenly doesn't go very far. Anyway, that's the MIDI side. These bits here are all the controller and volume information which I put in the first bar. So when I balance the template, I record all that information, not just volume and CC11, but also sort of default key switch and the default mod wheel position, so that once I just run it, like that, first thing in the morning, all the template should be balanced. But that's another story we'll come and talk about another time. Down here, the actual instruments are on 4 PC slaves, all running on Vienna Ensemble Pro 5. And this is where they come back in. So each slave has roughly 24 or 32 outputs. So they all come into Digital Performer here. And then this channel here, you see they get redirected to various sort of groups. So down here, they come into all the woodwind, brass, miscellaneous, vox, small percussion, etc., etc., etc. And those, in turn, are then sent to specific stems, A, B, C, or D. And these ones come in here, and those 4 tracks there are what I deliver to the client. Today we're just starting episode 7 of Lassie. So this is the Lassie template. And the Lassie template, I mean, they're all more or less the same, but the difference is If I go up to the guitars, I mean, I'll have loads more sort of guitars and banjos and the wonderful 8dio steel string guitar and strumming guitar and mandolin and things like that, of which I'm a huge fan. And then down the very bottom are all the audio tracks for things like whistles and mouth organs and live guitars and all the rest of it, things which I try and add into things. So that's a very quick whistle-stop tour through my ludicrously huge template, but I think you can see how you end up getting there if you have absolutely no self-control, like me. Anyway, I'll be back with something else very shortly.